time in the stock market, we can use an old evasive saying for politics and say that mistakes were made. Yes, they were. We'll look at the variables behind the decision making and what was left aside on the road to ruin. First up, we have Canopy Growth. In this case, I was not close to the recreational culture and I was not close to Canada. At the beginning, as with all investments, this company looked great. They are the parent company of Storz Bickel, which is the maker of the only cannabis consumption tool I could find that is registered as a medical device. I thought that this would be a great source of revenue that would sustain the company in spite of any other missteps. The Storz Bickel narrative fit well with my experience. At least it did at first glance. I had seen cannabis products help AIDS and cancer patients. It was of vital importance as it ameliorated the side effects of other drugs and helped them eat. Their illnesses were more bearable. Investing in a medical device looked like a sound business decision. I had looked at Reddit and other sources of information about the Canadian recreational community. CGC is a holding company with many divisions. Unfortunately, I ignored what they had to say, rereading some of it after the fact. They have bad relations with their customers and workers. Growers and consumers hate them. The list of reasons goes on and on. Basically, CGC is not navigating the transition from printing money, as things were in the days when cannabis was illegal, to running a business from day to day. Also, my own experience in medical settings should have been a negative indicator. While medical marijuana is legitimate and important for many people, I neglected to recall how people I knew took it. It was either smoked or in pill form. I have seen the Storz Bickel Volcano on a news video. It puts the smoke into a plastic bag and you inhale it from there. While it has the benefit of no carbon monoxide, it looks awkward and unsafe, especially for someone with a serious illness. When I bought this, it was on the last slope here. It was around $14.50 a share, and then I sold it just recently at $2.22 a share. So it's basically to the right of the line. Next, we will look at Petrobras. Now with Petrobras, I had the opposite problem. I have always been closer to the culture than most people. I grew up in settings where everyone likes Brazil. Many of the older people in my family spoke Portuguese, and I learned it from some of them as a young adult. Some of them and their friends had been to Brazil, and they all had good things to say about it. Since then, I've read Brazilian books, talked to people from there, and wasted time following the World Cup. While I don't use the language very much these days, I'm still in settings where everyone likes Brazil. At the end of 2010, this company looked great. It had come off a peak and was around $35 a share. I read about them in Portuguese and English. They have some of the best offshore drilling tech in the industry. Also, the yearly meetings in Rio sounded great, even though I would never invest nearly enough to attend. From there, PBR sank along with the price of oil. I thought that their fortunes would improve once the price of oil went up. Along the way, the only negative thing I saw was from James Chanos. He repeated the old saw that companies affiliated with governments tend to be bled dry for pet projects. While the saying is repeated to death, I should have looked further, because I respected the source and still do. I did not look for any other negative feedback as I should have. The second big clue came more recently. As a shareholder, I was a member of a class for a class action suit against the company. That's when you know a company is really bad. Then in February, Russia invaded Ukraine and the price of oil went through the roof. Petrobras shares went up slightly. They were going to wait and see what happened before they invested in more production. Of course, their shares lagged behind other oil companies. Last week, I finally sold out from Petrobras. The company is still floundering, but my losses are locked in. That's all for this video, and I hope it's not a long series. I hope you learned something, and more importantly, I hope I learned something.